pleasant evening to you out there. Thank you for joining us on another edition of the program National Talk on ECWA Television International. My name is Joyce Jakada. On the highlights, President Tinubu on Thursday approved the appointment of Mr. Ola Olukayode to serve as the Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for a term of 4 years in the first instance, pending Senate confirmation. On security matters, the Director of Defense Media Operations of the Nigerian Defense Headquarters, Edward Buba, says troops have killed 50 terrorists and arrested 114 in various operations across Northeast, North Central, and Northwest. Finally, on the highlights, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has lifted the foreign exchange restriction on importation of 43 items, assuring of its commitment to boost liquidity in the foreign exchange market. Tonight on National Talk, we are beaming our light on the current controversy surrounding the validity of President Tinubu's certificate presented to Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for 2023 presidential election. You will recall that the former Vice President and the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has said that the president has forged his certificate, Chicago State's certificate of diploma, and has sorted that the court allow him have access to the records of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That request was granted, and it has generated a lot of controversy, debate, and even some questions. Tonight on National Talk, we're going to be beaming our light on that. And joining me to discuss this is Mr. Katdapba Gobum, a former chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Plateau State Chapter. Good evening and welcome to National Talk.
Good evening. Happy to be here listening.
Well, we're glad that you could join us despite your busy schedule.
Thank you.
All right, let's go straight into the discussion. The past few weeks, and even I think up to a month now, there has been a lot of controversy around the validation of the certificate of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and this has caused a lot of debates between party supporters and even surrogates. A lot of we've seen how spokespersons have debated amongst themselves, calling names and all of that. But the question is, what do you make of this certificate saga involving the number one citizen of the state of the country? Like some people have referred to the whole issue as the more you see, the less you understand. What do you make of this whole saga?
Well, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. The issue of the certificate saga has lingered since 1999.
That's true.
You know, before he became governor of Lagos State and all of that. The fact that it is not starting today is not surprising. I think that a lot of people have gone ahead to unearth a number of things that they consider as a black spot on the number one citizen of Nigeria. Without being too legalistic and without not attempting to speak for anyone, I am not a devotee of any of the parties involved. Neither do I hold any personal view, so to speak, about what you have asked me. But I think that it is considered in such a manner that those who govern us, leadership must be exemplary. Leadership must be in such a form that people can pick at you and say, that man is upright, without any blemish. Even if you did in the past well, perhaps it may be considered some other thing. But I think that this issue has more or less balkanized opinions. People say what they feel about it. People discuss it. Some discuss it in hushed tones so that their parties may not hear them and such like that. But I think that basically the attempt made by the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, was to ensure that things are done rightly. To go to the essence of ensuring that he went to the United States to get all of these details means a lot. And I think that for me, Nigerians are, in his estimation, should be grateful anyway. This is because once you become a leader, there is nothing about you that is hidden any longer. And I think that all of these things that have been done, whether it is by Atiku, whether it is by Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, or any other person, of course you would notice also that the party to which the president belongs has also come up to say that it's purely a distraction. And they don't think that there is anything worth talking about. If you understand the system of the American system in terms of education, how certificates are issued, whether it is a certificate or a diploma or whatever are issued. So I think that basically it is about time. Even if the man does not speak, he has a number of, aides that have spoken in terms of people not to belabor the issue, because it is neither here nor there. But I think that Atiku has, the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, has been able to establish that there may be something actually wrong in terms of that certificate or the diploma, as the case might be. Peter Obi's addition to it is that if at this point we're still discussing the certificate issue of Mr. President, he thinks that it is better if he left the office, because it is quite distracting. It is inimical to the progress of the office of the president, as it were. And I think that whether it is said by Peter Obi or whether it is said by Atiku Abubakar or other persons that have been involved, and I think that one or two of the persons that have done a little bit of explanation is Minister of Aviation, and the other is Professor Perogi, who is an American citizen but a Nigerian also in the United States. And I think that both of them have adduced the fact that the certificate issue is by and large a distraction to the president. But of course, that of Professor Perogi is that Atiku has been able to establish something that is worth looking into. So I think that for us as a nation, it's rather unfortunate that we have been, boxed into this situation as to whether the president needs to speak to the nation about it or just keep quiet while there are explanations. But of the fact that it's been, the issue is before the Supreme Court, is neither for you and I to discuss the way forward. Yes, exactly so.
Well, earlier today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu asked the Supreme Court to dismiss the appeal by Atiku as well as the People's Democratic Party challenging his victory at the after the tribunal ruled. And you will recall that the former vice president and the presidential candidates of the PDP has vowed not to let this issue just go down, because he has continued to say that this thing he's doing is for the integrity of the nation. And that is why he went ahead to the U.S. court to ask that, see, this diploma certificate that is alleging that has been forged by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be released to him, like the document of his academic record should be released. And we saw how that the U.S. court magistrate judge has actually gave the Chicago State University, I think, about 48 hours, and that was done. And I think the release of the result was what generated the reactions, because there are some controversies that is surrounding it, issue of gender, issue of secondary school attended, and people were asking questions, and the middle name. which one is which, and people are saying, why do we have all of that? You're saying you went to a school, you graduated in 1970. That was the year that I think 4 years after that year that the school was actually established. So a lot of questions are surrounding it. No wonder the likes of Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, say that at a time like this, it is important that beyond spokesperson, beyond surrogates, the president himself should come out and address the whole issue. But I would like us to watch, to listen to the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, his stance on this issue. Okay. So let's watch.
Our country is bigger than any one of us, and its standing in the world affects the fate of all who come from or live in this great country. Our elections are established and governed by law and founded on the Constitution, from which leadership and government in Nigeria alone derive their legitimacy. The Constitution prescribes the requirements for those who seek the highest elective office in the land. It should not take months or indeed decades for the institutions concerned to be able to do their work in establishing the credibility of any certificates presented by candidates for public office. This quest is not for or about Atiku Abubakar. It is a quest for the enthronement of truth, morality, justice, and accountability in our public affairs. In line with this, let me call on all well-meaning Nigerians, leaders of thought, our religious leaders, our traditional leaders, our community leaders, our political leaders, and in particular, Governor Peter Obi of the Labour Party and Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso of the NNPP, and the leaders of every political party in Nigeria, and indeed every single person who loves this country, as I do, and who wishes nothing but the best for this country as I do, to join me in this campaign to enshrine probity, accountability, and the basic principles of justice, morality, and uprightness in our country.
So that was the former vice president and also the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, reiterating his commitment and then his quest to ensure that the truth is unraveled according to him. And he's also calling on the presidential candidate of the Labour Party as well as that of the NNPP, Rabiu Kwankwaso, to join him to ensure that they unravel the truth according to him. Earlier on, when you were talking about responding to the question, you talk about the issue of leadership, which is very key. I recall that it was Professor Patrick Lumumba, one of the African leaders, that said that Africans are suffering because we elect the worst to lead us. He also talked about the fact that the change we desire rests in the choices that we make, and that is why it's always important that we show interest even in issues that has to do with leadership. And no wonder this issue of certificate has gained a lot of attention, and Nigerians are asking, when it comes to forgery, we're not concluding because the case is already in the court, but this is an issue that is seriously is a thing of concern, and we know over time how Nigerians are being treated offshores, and of course this is the concern of many out there if it involves the #1 citizen. But now coming from Atiku Abubakar, while some people are saying, well, what moral ground are you making that? Are you saying that, is it because you're truly concerned? Because he talked about, it's not just about him, but about the integrity of the nation. So do you see Atiku's concern within the ambit of reason and patriotism, or is just some political gimmicks?
Well, to be fair to you, it's a mixture of a lot of things. Perhaps in your investigation, you must have also discovered that a number of people are questioning the character of Atiku in a number of posts.
Very true.
particular, the names he had used, either from primary school, and all manners of things until he got to the customs and all of those things. So for me, they say he who
comes to equity
must also. So I think that there are quite a number of issues that are involved, and I think that it is right for Nigerians to ask questions validly also. A couple of days when he made that press briefing, you would also recall that a number of people had dismissed it. Even Peter Obi said it is not for him to join him. But as an individual also, he has the right and the capacity to also pursue this thing to logical conclusion. Why is he involving all others into it? But that is not to reduce what the former vice president has done. It is proper and right that certain developments, certain revelations that have come out of this development must not be taken as if it is a political issue. Even though those on the other divide would tell you that they are pursuing this thing because the man wants to be president at all costs. And if you discover that, if you hinge your submission on that, then it means that we are not speaking truthfully from the point side of what Atiku is doing. But I think that it is proper and right also to situate this thing, that our institutions, our national institutions are not working to the point that if we had an INEC that is working properly, structured as it were, and given the latitude to do the right things, if there were a problem since 1999, they would have discovered whether it is false or it is true, whether he gave the right certificates or he didn't, whether he pleaded the right thing or not. Those things would have been discovered. And I think that because our institutions are not working, our institutions are not pro-people, our institutions would always want to give leaders the leverage to do whatever they want to do. And for me as an individual, I think that it is about time we gave national institutions such as INEC, such as EFCC, for instance, such as ICPC, you know, the police, for instance, the courts, for instance, to get to the bottom of these things. But you raise something, and I think that that is basic for me as an individual, that it is about time the president spoke to the nation. And like we said also from the beginning, it's become a legal matter for which you and I, or any other person except the Supreme Court, that will look at what has been given to Atiku in the United States, what orders have about the president, but of course we know that it is Atiku that took the case to the Supreme Court. So I think that there is more to it than we ordinarily would have seen. But like I also said, if you read the statement that was given by Kiyamo, his Minister of Aviation, you come to understand that the presidential candidate of the PDP is chasing shadows. But like I said also, it is not for me to discuss what is it before the courts. And I think that we have tried as much as possible to lay the foundation that there are certain things that are wrong. And until we do away with those things, we will continue to have any leader who thinks that he can plead any certificate, even if he didn't have it, without the institution involved going ahead to search, to do a proper search, if this certificate belongs to you or to another person, if he got it rightly or he didn't, if he attended that institution or not. You will recall perhaps the issue of the former Speaker of the House of Representatives. Several years back, the Representative Buhari, in which he had pleaded that he graduated from a Toronto university. And it was found that he had lied. It was pure forgery. He didn't graduate from that university, and therefore he had to leave the National Assembly, as it were. So I think that there is what Nigerians would want. A number of those who are on the side of Atiku would want. There are those that are on the side of the president that will tell you with all amount of seriousness. And like you also said, it is not for spokesperson to keep defending the man. It is the man that is involved, not for spokesperson. But I think that while it is the duty of a spokesman anywhere to also defend his principle.
Well, like you rightly said, it's the duty of the spokesperson, but you know, people have been trying to get the attention of the president to actually come out personally, because it has to do with the issue of identity. And I recall that it was the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, that said that the president should come out and reintroduce himself, even though the APC and again the supporters, surrogates and all are saying that he doesn't need to reintroduce himself. The over 8 million people that voted him know who they actually voted for. So there's no need for him to come out. He's not suffering from identity crisis. But this is an issue, like you rightly said from the beginning, that has lingered over 2 decades. It was activist that actually started this fight. Exactly. But because of the immunity that covered President Bola Tinubu as the governor, then I don't think the issue saw the light of the day. But still talking about the strength of our institution, if it was really strong enough, this issue would have been followed up, and then we wouldn't have been talking about it at this time. There are some people that have the school of thought that this is not even the right time to bring up this issue. We would have seen this issue even before now. And no wonder some are accusing the presidential candidate of the PDP of just trying to play some politics instead of really the integrity, fighting for the integrity of the nation. And that is why they're saying you should have brought this issue even before now, since you are actually aware of it. But I would like us to also watch the press conference that the Labour Party presidential candidate actually addressed, talking about the fact that the president needs to come out and reintroduce himself. So let's watch.
I have had a wholesome burden of responding to embarrassing questions about the Nigerian overall credibility as a nation to privileged audience and individuals both at home and abroad in different parts of the world I've traveled recently. To the outsiders, the entire Chicago University matter, as well as Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu's many other lingering identity question marks, have further worsened Nigerian less than glorious image internationally. Uninformed outsiders now see every Nigerian as a fraudster, certificate forger, or identity thief. The controversy is unnecessary, just as the implicit global embarrassment could have been avoided. In my opinion, Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu should have saved the nation and himself this protracted embarrassment and undue anxiety. Even in this late in the day, however, Chief Ahmed Bola Tinubu still owes the nation and the world a simple debt of obligation only he can discharge. I therefore respectfully and humbly call on him to immediately and personally mount the rostrum of his present high office to perform a simple task once and for all time. He should reintroduce himself to the nation he governs and to the world for avoidance of further doubt. He should let the world know his name, his nationality, his place of birth, his parentage, the primary and secondary school he attended with dates, as well as the actual universities he attended and certificates obtained. He should indicate clearly where and when he did his national youth service. In addition, if at any time he had a change of name, it should state so clearly and circumstance. That is itself is no crime. This is a simple task that will take only few minutes. It requires no affidavit, prolonged court process, spokesperson, agents or surrogates. The task is one that only Chief Bola Tinubu himself, through a direct personal statement, can perform.
Of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and while addressing the press conference, he called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to come out and address the issue of his name, nationality, the place of birth, primary and secondary school, including university where he did his NYSC. If he had any change of name, he should come out and address it. And these are some of the issues that have continued to draw debates and all of that. Why are we having different name here, another different name there? Why are we having age? Another document is saying different year, another one different year. So these are some of the issues that he's saying, come out, reintroduce yourself. And to save the nation, he talked about the fact that he should come out and clean up, personally address the issue for the sake of integrity, value, and public morality. While the APC were not just quiet, they responded immediately, saying he didn't have to come out. The president does not have to come out because he doesn't have any issue with identity crisis. The people that voted him know who he is. That was why they voted him. So the issue of nationality, place of birth, he doesn't need to do that. In fact, some people are saying, did you pay his school fees that you're asking that his academic records be released to you and all of that? And someone's opined that it looks like this administration, this government is actually giving lawyers a lot of work, because we keep seeing how that at every point decision is taken, lawyers have to do some job. So what do you think about this request calling on the president to do all of this? Do you think that even beyond spokesperson and surrogates, the president should personally come out to address all these issues?
The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, you recall the issue of the certificate that involved former President Muhammadu Buhari, which everywhere was searched until it went to the Supreme Court also, and a verdict was formally given in his favor. As an individual, I feel so pained that leadership is taken for granted. We said from the beginning here that leadership means a lot more than what our Nigerian leaders have given us. There are quite a number of things that we take for granted, and Nigerians also always go back to sleep and forget about these things.
True.
And because we always forget about these things, those who are looking for positions are the wiser before us. They know where to circumvent certain things in order for them to get their ways through. Whether he has circumvented a number of things in his favor is left for the courts to decide.
Sure.
But he has asked very pertinent questions. And those questions, any other Nigerian would have asked them. His name, his family name, the schools he attended. If he did he go for NYC? And all manners of questions. Like we also have posited a few moments ago, yes, spokesperson cannot tell the Nigerian people who the president is. They are also at liberty to tell the Nigerian people, yes, certain millions of Nigerians voted for him, and they do know the person they actually voted for. Beyond that, what is it that the man has brought to the table that is any different? Has he the quality that is worth the trouble Nigerians went through to elect? Is he any better than any of those other 16, 17, 18 who also contested to be number one citizen? Perhaps he has. And there's no denying the fact that he does not. If he has proven elsewhere. And I say so because I'm not saying that these other people don't have the capacity. They certainly do have the capacity. But you made mention of certain development. Why was it that all of these things have waited until results were elected, the man is sworn, the man has started to do a number of things for the nation, then this issue came up? So Nigerians are basically right to ask certain questions, whether they are for him or against him. But of course, it is for the courts to also determine all of this. If you put them into aggregates, the courts will have to determine whether actually this man we call our president can be given a clean bill of health in terms of what the PDP presidential candidate has gone ahead to also take him to the Supreme Court, gone to the United States, and has also been given certain documents. Those documents are, even though they have not been made public to us, but you know that certainly in the ruling of the Supreme Court, we will certainly have those things. But I think that for me, as a Nigerian, these are very germane questions that should be asked. Except for me, that it's coming too late than we thought.
All right. This whole issue have generated reaction. That is because beyond the legal implication, there are actually moral implications to that. Sure. Because as a nation, we have expectation of even foreign investors investing in our nation. We have Nigerians that are also living offshores. We have a lot of expectation. The image generally, these are some questions that have left Nigerians like worried. Even though we've seen a lot of debates amongst the different political parties, their spokespersons and all of that, it looks like some Nigerians are thrown into confusion. And that was why earlier on I said, for some, it's like the case of the more you see, the less you understand. But we'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll look at the moral implication of this whole controversy surrounding the authenticity of the diploma certificate of the president from the Chicago State University. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on National Talk here on ECWA Television International. Our phone lines are now open for you to call and add your voice to the conversation. We have been discussing the controversy surrounding the authenticity of the diploma certificate presented to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, ahead of the 2023 general election by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And the chairman, former chairman of the NUJ here on the plateau, talking about Mr. Katdapba, has been doing justice to that. And I have been praying not to murder this name on this show. I hope I didn't. So let's talk about the moral implication. And that's the concern of many Nigerians, especially those that are staying offshores. You will recall the treatment that Nigerians always receive from the check-in at the airport. Once you identify yourself as Nigerian, people, the impression is fraudulent like issue of corruption and all of that. So the Nigerians, we've heard them over the years cry out from other, even some of these African nations, how they are being treated. And this recent certificate saga is one that has generated concern that if the #1 citizen of this country will be surrounded with an issue like this, even though it's alleged, and we wait for the court to give the final verdict. But the fact that he is the president, he's the #1 citizen, and having all of these issues surrounding him, especially certificate, what do you think will be the moral implication of this?
Well, I have asked myself this one question. What would I do if I were President Ahmed Bola Tinubu? I asked myself when this thing kept repeating itself. I asked myself that question. What did I come up with? I came up with the fact that if I were in his position, I'll tell the world who I am. I'll tell the world that I am Mr. ABCD who went to so primary schools and later this university. But like I said at some point during this discussion, our national institutions must take some blame also. They must be able to ascertain at the point that this man pleaded these certificates. It is easy these days. People who sit for GCE are apprehended simply because they told lies that they got exactly they got so number of points, and they are apprehended because it is not what they actually got. But I've also asked myself, can we at this point should not have gotten these things right until it is proven by the former president that certain things are allegedly wrong? We could, as a nation, and that is why your worry is, and I think it is also my worry, so that Nigerians can have things done in the right way. That we are being looked at as an unserious nation, particularly even at the highest level of leadership. People are accusing us. Oh, the world is looking at us as if we are such a naked set of people who may not have values, whose morals are questionable, whose certificates are, near to a wasted piece of paper, with no regard for doing what is right. So I think for us, we must be worried. For Nigerians, whether you are living abroad or you're living in Nigeria itself, you must be worried about certain development. Even if this is the least of them, you must be worried for certain developments that we find ourselves, that certain people are questioning us. You go to the airport, you go to the security checks in other nations, it is you who is singled out. Oh boy, stand this way until we have finished with the others. So for us, that is very degrading. It is very annoying that our leaders are not doing those things that are right. But it is right for us also to question, where did we actually miss what we should have done wrong? Right. Why have we not corrected all of these things? And Nigerians are a lot of people who are, whose capacities may not be in doubt. But because certain people in positions who should have done these things rightly have made a lot of the global world to look at us with some amount of unseriousness. So I think that we need some some form of awakening. We need to be reawakened in terms of what we do things. What would our children be asking us? What is happening to our president? What kind of certificate does our president not have that he should have pleaded it during the filling of his form for even governorship, let alone that of the presidency? But like I also said, significantly, I think that there are quite a number of things that will be unearthed by the the Supreme Court. And I think that once those things are unearthed, then for us as a people, it is about time we started something that is new and recognizable.
Like you rightly said, I think one of the vital questions is, where did we not get it right?
Yeah.
Because at this point, we shouldn't be talking about the issue of certificate. We have institutions that saddle the responsibility of ensuring all these things are in place and done correctly. You see, it's also a concern for this generation and even next generation, because this is history. We're going to be, even the next generation are going to be reading, this is the conversation on the global scene. So it is quite embarrassing and a thing of concern, even though at this point it's just an allegation until the Supreme Court actually prove otherwise. Like you rightly said, the treatments, Nigerians over time have been treated like not nicely because of your identity, because of where you're coming from. And that is why people have continued to talk, why can't we just get it right? And like Professor Patrick Lumumba said, we get it wrong by not even bringing the right people on seat. When we vote based on nepotism, we vote based on shared ethnic identity or even religion. And at the end of the day, we bring people to the front, people that are not competent, people without character, people without integrity. And we have expectations of them that, they should perform excellently. Of course, if somebody is really sure that the process that brought him to power is not really excellent, you don't expect to see excellence in that person. No wonder we see a lot of things happening cut across different institutions and even parastatal. A lot of people have questioned the body language of the lawyers that were defending President Bola Ahmed Tinubu since the application by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and presidential candidate of the PDP demanding academic records. We saw how that they kept appealing that the record should not be released to the presidential candidate of the PDP. It was more like, he has the right to, it is his right to privacy. They're trying to invade his privacy and all of that. In fact, I had one of the party supporters saying that, did Atiku paid his school fees that is asking for his academic records? You can only ask for my academic records if you pay my school fees. But we're talking about the number one citizen. If you can come out publicly to show interest, come to public light and vie for a position such as the president of the country, then you should be able to put your identity forward for people. And where there are questions, you should be able to come out and clarify it. It shouldn't be an issue that is going to generate some debates and all of that. Even though people are faulting the decision by the PDP's presidential candidates being frivolous, more like it's not really about the nation, it's not about national interest, but some personal interest. People are alleging that maybe he's hoping that because going by the constitution, the issue of forgery is a criminal offense, and if you are found guilty, of course, as the president, you have to go out of the seat. So maybe he's hoping that eventually, if it works in his favor, he will become the president. What do you make of the body language of the spokesperson, the surrogates, the lawyers that have been defending President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
The truth is that they have something that you and I may not know. I'm very certain about it. And I think that for him not to have spoken, except his spokesperson, former spokesperson, people who have worked with him, for all of this number of years, particularly those of them in his media, the campaign council, the media team, who have consistently, people like Bayo Nanuga, people like the present Federal Minister of, what is it called, Dele Alake, and the Minister of Aviation. Festus Kiamo, SAN, and quite a number of them also who have spoken in the same direction as some of his spokesperson. And well, to use the word surrogate as Peter Obi had used, I think that there is more to it than we just are thinking. There is more to it. But having said so also, it boils down to what we have not been able to do, that all of these things are
happening,
resurfacing. They are resurfacing because something has not been pointed out that is wrong, somewhere. And I think that it is only the Supreme Court that can get these things right. And once they get the judgment right, whether it is against the president or for the president, certain things will certainly fall into place. But I haven't considered the position of Atiku Abubakar. I think that it is neither here nor there for me as to whether he is genuinely interested in getting to the root of this issue. Agreed that he has consistently said he's a Democrat by conviction. And I think that he might be, yes. He has been on the scene for quite a long period of time. And I think that he has every right to beat his chest to say that he is a true Democrat. Some other people will put question mark to what is his credentials. And certainly several people have put question marks to his credentials. But yet, for having stood out to ensure that these things are gotten, it's a lot more to it than we actually are thinking of his credentials. Because it will take the guts of whoever is involved, his lawyers and all the people involved in getting these things to this end. But that is not to also say that the lawyers of the president are also, have gone to slumber. They haven't. And he has credible lawyers whose capacities to defend him are certainly not in doubt.
Well, the APC, even the presidency have come out to say that, well, the Chicago State University didn't clearly say or did not say that the president forged the certificate.
Yes.
And also, even the
That's
BBC
true.
came up with a report to say that, well, they have checked and it didn't show in any way that the president actually forged his certificate.
That is true.
Even though some people have faulted the response from the Chicago State University saying it's not really clear. But the PDP have maintained its stand in saying, see, he lied here, and he lied there, but we all await the final verdict from the Supreme Court.
Sure.
But more concern is the current situation that we found ourselves here in Nigeria. You recall that I said earlier on that for a lot of people, this administration is like giving a lot of lawyers jobs like to do, because even today we saw how that the president yesterday appointed Mr. Ola Olukayode to serve as the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for a term of 4 years, pending Senate confirmation. This is one of the issues that is generating reaction currently, because some people are saying, going by the EFCC Act, it is said that whoever will emerge or whoever will be appointed must have served in the force for like 15 years. And so people are questioning this appointment based on that. And beyond this, I'm concerned about the current reality that Nigerians are faced with. Do you not think that this controversy and this debate about this certificate saga is overshadowing the issue of governance? You recall that after the appointment of the ministers, it's just one NEC meeting that we saw with them. And ever since then, we've been going back and forth about issue of providing palliative, and up till now, a lot of Nigerians are yet to even see any palliative. And even those that have even received, how many are still holding on to it? It was on this platform, someone called and said, I was given 2 measures of rice this and that, and I'm sure by now it's nowhere to be found, but he has
sure.
to face the rising inflation rates, the increase in prices of commodities, increase almost all rounds in products and services. There's increase. Currently there's even scarcity of petroleum. Like, people the road is almost empty. When you go to even the filling station, some of the filling station, you see it choked, and then people are struggling even with the issue of scarcity. So do you not see this certificate saga as a distraction, or probably overshadowing the issue of governance? This has lingered for like about a month now, and it's more like when there's an issue that Nigerians are raising concern, then another one will just come up and it will be a distraction. Before we know, it's like 2 months, 3 months gone past, and then we wake up to the reality and say, I thought the government promised us that in 4 weeks they are going to do this, and we forgot we were chasing. So do you see this whole saga and controversy as overshadowing the issue of governance?
Well, one of the headlines that the New Nigerian published today is Tinubu is Yorubanizing national appointments. When I saw that, I actually laughed. Why did I laugh? I laughed because he's following a footstep of someone who has also started it. So why are they complaining now?
In fact, somebody said that before now the EFCC has been like headed by Muslims, and then not even a southerner. Now this is the first time we're having a Christian appointed and a southerner. So they too deserve, for every debate there's always counter debate.
Yes, like you pointed out, yes, the man has been secretary of the commission. He is a lawyer by training, not a security man by training.
Like we've had over the years.
Yes, like we've always had since the establishment of the EFCC 2002 or 2003 or thereabout. So it's very difficult to begin to question why the president is doing this thing. But it's also right for people to raise the alarm, like it happened during Buhari's time. Quite a number of people raised the alarm. Certain appointments are given to particular ethnic group in Nigeria. Are the other ones not don't they have qualified persons to occupy these positions from either of the zones that are found? This evening you may recall that he had appointed several other chief executives, the Smith and ITL, all manners of organizations, and changed it. Even if you had not finished the term of your office, you were changed. But for me, I think that the issue of governance has actually suffered. It has suffered because we are consistently, dwelling on certain things that ordinarily we should have moved forward. The issue of palliative or whatever, you and I may not have palliative.
True.
Yes, you and I may not have palliative. This is because it is not those people that should be given that are now given.
True.
In all manners of consideration, in all the states, you find out people that have are the ones that are being considered for these things. So it is about time that we stopped a number of things and give the benefit of why we have appointed this man to lead the nation. That is, if those issues that have come up are dispensed with.
All right. So on the final note, just in a minute, I would like you to respond to this. President Tinubu have approved the appointment of 5 persons to serve in the office of the president under media and publicity. And the statement was from his spokesman, Ajuri Galili, on Monday. He said the appointees as Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Values and Social Justice, Fela Durotoye, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Engagement, Frederick Nwabufo, Senior Special Assistant to the President Strategic Communication, Linda Wabua, and then others include Special Assistant to the President, Public Affairs, Aliu Audu, and then Special Assistant to the President, Special Duties, Francis Ada. And this whole appointment, according to the presidency and his spokesperson, has met the requirement of the Federal Character Commission. So what would be your advice to these appointees regarding upholding the highest standard of decorum and decency in their engagement with the members of the public, because this has to do with media and publicity? So what would be your advice?
Good. A number of them are quite known figures in the media industry. That is Nwabufo, Linda. Linda Nwabufo is a very fine writer. Linda is from the channels, and Fela is quite, a quintessential speaker in terms of given the output that is needed. But you recall that there was a Nigerian Institute of Public Relations that questioned the capacity of Ngilele. But for me, it is who the man wants to work with. And I think that they should learn from the past, where your roles as spokespersons, whether for media communications or in the various cadres that they have been given, do not conflict with one another. Once they don't conflict with one another, you are at liberty to give the best to this man.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Katdapba Gobum, for creating time to speak with us on National Talk. We're truly grateful.
To be here.
Thank you so much. And like the African leader said, talking about Professor Patrick Lumumba, Africans suffering because we elect the worst to lead us. It is important that we understand that the change we desire rests in the choices we make. Remember that good reputation is more valuable than gold. Until we come your way next week with another edition of National Talk, you have a blessed night.